Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Hayley Mitchell Haugen. I am the editor of Sheila-Na-Gig Online and Sheila-Na-Gig Editions. Tonight, we have a very special treat, some feature readers from West Virginia, some of West Virginia's finest poets, who have collaborated to create this little chapbook called Porch Poems. And they are, we have Susanna Connelly Holstein, Cheryl Denise, Kirk Judd, and Sherrell Runion Wigal. And these fabulous people have worked together for years and have met in West Virginia to write poems and critique each other and workshop and lead workshops. And this little book of poems is the output of a number of years that they've selected works from to share with us. So excited to have my West Virginia friends here. So welcome, everybody. I am going to read some bios of our featured writers so you get a sense of their backgrounds. And I'm going to start with Cheryl Denise. So Cheryl Denise grew up in Elmira, Ontario. She went to the Red Brick Mennonite Church beside the White Clapboard Old Order Meeting House. After nursing school, she went into voluntary service and worked as a public health nurse in La Jara, Colorado, where she met her future husband while helping him make suppers at the homeless shelter where he was volunteering. Now they live in the intentional community of Shepherd's Field near Philippi, West Virginia, in a timber-framed home they built when they were young, and she says, and brimming with energy. Cheryl is the author of the poetry books Fences, What's in the Blood, and I Saw God Dancing, all published by Cascadia Publishing House, Dreamseeker Books. She has a spoken word poetry CD, Leaving Eden, available on Amazon. She enjoys hiking, canoeing, biking, cross-country skiing with her husband, Mike Miller, and you can visit her on Facebook. So hi, Cheryl. You can do a little wave there if you like. And next we have Susanna Connelly Holstein. Her work has appeared in various poetry anthologies, Fed from the Blade, Voices on Unity, Coming Together, Falling Apart, Diner Stories, as well as short story anthologies and online journals. She was a columnist for 10 years for the regional magazine Two-Lane Livin' and has been blogging since 2007. Susanna is a traditional storyteller and ballad singer. She has performed for national venues and audiences across West Virginia. In 2015, Susanna was named a West Virginia History Hero. When not writing or performing, she sells antiques and works in her gardens in Jackson County. So a little wave from Susanna, welcome. So great to have you here. And Kirk Judd is a founding member of West Virginia Writers, Inc. He has lived, worked, and trout fished and wandered around West Virginia all of his life. Kirk was a member of the Appalachian Literary League, a former president of West Virginia Writers, Inc., as a founding member of the creative writing instructor for Allegheny Echoes, Inc., dedicated to the support and preservation of West Virginia cultural heritage arts. Author of 3 collections of poetry, Field of Vision, Cowbilly, and My People Was Music, and a co-editor of the widely acclaimed anthology Wild Sweet Notes, 50 Years of West Virginia Poetry, 1950 to 1999. He's widely published. He's been featured 3 times on American Public Radio on The Poet and the Poem with West Virginia native Grace Cavallari, and has appeared on the acclaimed radio show Mountain Stage. Kirk was honored to be one of 5 readers selected for the installation ceremony of the Louise McNeill piece as West Virginia Poet Laureate in 1979. He's internationally known for his performance work, combining poetry and old-time music, and has performed poetry in Ireland and across West Virginia at fairs, concerts, and festivals since the 1970s. So excited to have you here, Kirk. Welcome. And finally, Sherrell Runion Wigal is a poet originally from Rowan County, West Virginia, now living in Wood County. In past years, she served as director of the West Virginia Writers Annual Writers Conference and has been the past coordinator of the literary events tent at the West Virginia State Folk Festival. She conducts numerous creative writing workshops throughout the area. Sherrell has presented her work through West Virginia and surrounding states. Her list of performances include the Arthur Brandon Humanities Lecture Series at Alderson Broaddus College and Rhythm and Rhyme Series at Kanawha County Public Library, the annual Vandalia Gathering, and the Stonewall Jackson Jubilee. Her writing appears in many publications throughout the county and country, and much of Sherrell's poetry reflects her love, appreciation, and connection to people, nature, cultural heritage of West Virginia. I'm so proud to be able to have published these amazing poets, both separately and now together in Porch Poems through Sheila-Na-Gig Editions. And I'm so proud to call you folks my friends as well. So, so happy to have you here, and take it away for us, Kirk.
Okay, thank you, Hayley, and thanks to everyone for attending. This little chapbook is dedicated to Dr. Barbara Smith, who was my co-editor on Wild Sweet Notes and who was a friend and mentor and influence on us all. She published a book, once upon a time, a collection of poetry entitled Improved Definitions. This is the epigraph to our book from that book by Barbara. Ecology, the branch of biology dealing with the relations and interactions between organisms and their environment, including other organisms. Barbara's improved definition: the sound of the breeze, the smell of horned owls, the smile of blackberries, the sweetness of rocks, the pull of the ocean, the voice of God.
Audience blessings. Blessings to each of you. May you find something familiar in the words we share. May you find kindness. May you find solace. May you remember one moment you had forgotten. May you find a gentle way to listen to morning crows gossip.
Things you can only see if you're not looking. A lark's condensed breath as it sings a too cool morning into day. The star next to the star you think is Alnilam, sparkling in the hunter's belt low in the November sky. Your lover's hand reaching just before it touches your shoulder. Ghost cats. The infinite grace of the first raindrop. Green, knowing it will be yellow in February for Scythia. Owls at night. Mars winking, Jupiter too, and Saturn, Venus with both eyes. The corpse's smile just before you pass. The tear you never cried. The last pin oak leaf as it falls, the sound wave it makes. Squirrels in a beech grove, the bend in the tail of the comet, the animal no one has ever seen. Sleep. The first purple red bud, the rise of trout downstream from your cast. Cedar waxwings eating the last cherries, the color of the devil's eye. Your mother's last breath. The spirit rising from everything, from you, from the river, from the grass blade and the elk, from the sentient wolf and sheep in the pasture, from hay in the field, from peaches in the orchard, from turtles in the pond, the swell and pull of it all, lifting, lifting, lifting.
Last night, the mockingbird, and now black-capped chickadee, crow, brown thrasher, dove, all those glorious birds of dawn. Here is rabbit, gray squirrel, towhee demands, drink your tea, as steam rises from blue mugs. Across green meadow, on a hollow tree, red-belly woodpecker rat-a-tats his territorial drumming. Along the Greenbrier River, wood ducks fly upstream, Canada geese down. What more can we say about this morning that hasn't already been said by riotous fence line forsythia as it shouts yellow hallelujahs into the blossom of light?
Reprieve. In a stained gingham apron, she stands in the kitchen doorway, sips from a heavy white mug, the first of the day's brown brew. By the clothesline, raucous crows bring news in a language she does not understand. Their noise startles movement beneath a bush, A frightened rabbit leaps toward the garden of blue-gray cabbage, lime-green lettuce standing in orderly rows. At the fence, hummingbirds whir their wings, dart and dive through trumpet vines. Fog lifts from dewy grass, sun sparkles on ripe strawberries. Clouds move in, hide the sun's bright promise. She sees, but knows there will be no rain, since the dew is heavy and the wind is from the south. She pulls on a pink cardigan, fastens its one remaining button, takes the egg basket from a hook by the door. The rooster struts and crows. The hens fuss and worry. One draggled and feather-worn sits on a nest. So you're laying again, old girl. The woman reaches in, finds a warm brown egg. Guess I won't be getting the hatchet today. The clouds move on. This will be a good day, she says. Sunlight gleams on the sharp edge of the blade, hanging just inside the henhouse door. The keeper. There is a light in the window of the home place. No one notices, no one cares. No one sees the old one, keeper of mysteries, seer of futures. No footprints trace her path, but the cat raises his hackles, hisses wide-eyed at her passing shadow. She whispers secrets to red butterflies, knows the shrouds in heaven's basement, mysteries stored in the attics of hell. She sees where the dead walk, hears the singing of the yet unborn. Around her gate, sweet honeysuckle twines, lavender and bergamot, rue and cow's parsley mingle. Herbs for goodness, herbs for evil. Who knows? Who can know what makes her tea? She keeps the kettle steaming on the fire, bread, butter, honey on her table, for company not yet devoured by death or life. Within her house of bones there beats a heart, patched with sinew, sewn with gut. She listens to voices from murmuring graves. The sorrow of the world butters her bread. Over it all, she pours sweet honey, tends the light.
Heritage. The mother's a washing machine brimming with cucumbers, a table crowded with mason jars and pickling spices. She's the hum of the needle, making costumes for her children's ice carnival. She's a china teapot, a slice of grape pie. The daughter is the dare, covering the eyes of a boy playing chicken on the fast road. The crimson tip of a cigarette nestled in the oak, watching church boys play football. She's the quiet wash of a cross-country sunrise, running to be alone. The mother struggled in high school, dropped out, worked at Wally and Lloyd's, gave up wages for family groceries, siblings' college funds. When the daughter becomes ill with doubt at nursing school, the mother recognizes the demons, takes her out for bagels Monday mornings, tells her she's proud of her for making it this far. At 22, the daughter flies away to volunteer in a dusty Colorado town. As a public health nurse, so much is expected. She thinks she might break. She blames God and starts writing. The mother, who'd been to the hospital when her own mind jammed up, knows what to slip off and when. She reads the poems, understands. When one appears in the church bulletin, she tells everyone her daughter is a famous poet. The mother is a lilac bush, a sweet lullaby. At night, the daughter's room fills with a fragrant, faraway song.
The rusty spoon. Why do you keep it, she asked, like it's something special, an ornament or a treasure? It's just a rusty spoon. She didn't know his eyes, glimmering blue, sharp as ice needles. She didn't see his skin worn and weathered, craggy with years and hard use, hear his voice, smoke darkened, prison rough. She didn't smell the sharp acid of oak or his sweat from splitting a mountain of winter warmth. She didn't feel the tough leather of his hands, split, calloused, nails bitten to the quick. She didn't know the story, how he found the spoon 2 feet down in red clay, digging a grave in a churchyard with markers so old the names were worn away. She didn't see his cabin, tucked under the edge of a laurel thicket, hidden beside a dark stream. She didn't hear the wonder in his voice, see the mystery in his eyes as he handed it to me.
Rules for the open mic poetry reading. For the poet, don't explain the whole poem before you begin. Don't mumble or slouch or pick the scab at your elbow. Don't apologize. Don't fret like a preschooler searching for mom. If you think you're Frost or Dickinson, then go ahead, read the first draft you wrote this morning. Tepid clapping is not permission for you to read another half hour. No sermons, no more than 2 unrequited loves. And please, no perineum or vagina poems. No fake British accent. Your poem is not so significant you need to crescendo every line, nor so deep as to warrant a sloth's pace. Never fade out in the final stanza or mute the last word. If you fail, fail gloriously. Treat poetry with respect. Don a clean shirt. Read as if you like your poems. For the listener, don't make grocery lists or play solitaire on your phone. Focus on the reader, not your dirty nails. Don't be afraid to sigh, nod, hoot. Drink beer if it makes listening easier. Gaze out the window of your mind and change what you see according to what you hear. Allow yourself to be surprised. Afterwards, don't rush off. Discuss a poem over wine and cheese. If you have the means, buy a book you like. Instead of listening to the radio on the way home, try to remember a metaphor. Next time, bring a friend, come early, lounge near the front. Smile at the reader before she begins. Let the poem lead you where it will.
Nuisance poets. Section 10.23, West Virginia Linguistic Management Regulations, 2021. Poets committing depredations upon academic or small press anthologies, independent press chapbooks, e-zines, or regional literary publications, or instigating live readings at libraries or general public gatherings, or when concentrated at conferences or workshops so as to constitute a hazard and or other nuisance, may be taken at any time. No daily limits.
Twice fallen rain. Beyond the front porch, evening hangs silent, except for the twice fallen rain as it drops from leaf to leaf. The storm, now 30 miles away, still its lightning calls and calls, strikes a resplendent ochre sunset. Black Snake glides toward the river. 20 feet away, a large doe crunches small green apples left by wind. Owls come silent, insistent, almost invisible, 4 fledglings who stay for days. Beneath hedgerow, glowworms burn with imagination.
What sustains me? The long line of horse and buggies that clip-clop to church Sunday mornings sound like tree frogs on the hillside. Red tails riding thermals while 4 poets on the porch prune their metaphors. Mom's bear hug and laughter when I was a girl, when I asked why Grandpa, who was normally happy, yelled when he preached, madly shaking his fist. The bright pom-poms tying the black shawls of old order women, that one autumn when they were allowed a dollop of color, lime green, Macintosh red, orange, fuchsia, and turquoise. An old dog asleep in a sunbeam. The Indian tribe that says all creation stories are true. The bearded man who says many creation stories start with revenge, battles, and poison, but ours starts with a word, a breath. The Egyptian prophet who buys a lamb to remember Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son. He chooses our best, binds the lamb's legs with electrical tape, gently heaves him into the trunk of his BMW. Early morning fog rolling off the pond. My husband, who turns the sanctuary into a wood shop. For Sunday worship, we build houses for barred owls. My 105-year-old grandma in her apartment, singing hymns.
Composition of the gravel in the road, of the smooth rocks in the stream, of the lichen on the banks, of the squirrel's nest in the tree, of the moonshine in the jar, of the sunshine on the hill, of the fox track in the sand, of the sawdust in the mill, of the coal inside the fire, of the water in the spring, of the stars above the sky, of the blackbird's bloodied wing, of the warmth inside my bed, of the touch of your cool hand, of the iron under the bridge, of the losing of this land, of the trout in Laurel Run, of the yellow flowers' hue, of the grass under my feet, of the years I've had with you, of the apple blossomed air, of the baby in my arms, of the berries on the vine, of the telling of the yarn, of the roads that ever go, of the eagle's lofty flight, of the travels yet to come, of the day and of the night, of the music of the earth, of the music of the wind, of the time that stays forever, of the end when it begins. The end.
That. You've been listening to West Virginia poets Susanna Holstein, Cheryl Denise, Sherrell Wigal, and Kirk Judd, reading from their recently released chapbook, Porch Poems, from Sheila-Na-Gig Editions. One of the fun things about this book is that as you read through, the poems are not attributed to the different authors. You don't see that until the end of the book. And hearing, this wonderful reading, we really get the sense of these unique voices, but also, how connected they are as well to each other, to the land, to West Virginia. It's just a wonderful little book. So thank you so much for this wonderful reading, friends. Thank you. We will be moving on. We have an open mic reading. We have 5 contributors from Sheila-Na-Gig Online's summer edition, and they'll be each sharing a couple pieces of their work. And we're going to start off with Eben Bein.
Hello, Eben Bein here. I'm reading, gonna read you guys a couple of poems. Oh, well, actually, let me just pause and say how wonderful that was to just hear. Thank you, readers and sharers of woven community verse. I grew up in co-housing and thinking about what we need to survive what's coming together. And I feel like I just got a glimpse of it. I'm really excited. My first chapbook is out. It's called Character Flaws. Just toss a link to it in the chat. Very different stuff. Sad and hilarious breakup stories from early queer singledom. So I'm just going to read a couple of pieces from that. I'm going to start with a pre-breakup poem called Last Laugh Before the Break. Remember that time it was 100 degrees and we got lost somewhere after Flagstaff? how we sweated a full 40 miles into the red, the needle impossibly far past E, one warm plastic gulp left between us. And how that little blue arrow on the GPS turned gray, and it was like forgetting the meaning of intersection, as if no two things had ever connected. How my mouth went dry with the desert of it. Even you were silent. How you asked me to pull over so you could get out and chase a lone bar, leaving me in the car, muttering, watching you kick gravel with your all-stars, tug the brim down as you bring the cracked Motorola up to your ear, and again, hearing nothing. Not one car, not even a tumbleweed, just the engine, zhrugga, 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 lumping in my throat before it turned over for maybe the last time, until there it was, the exit with a Burger King. Prices on a blistered plaque, how you flicked me a look, seeking to put the weight of it down. How I pulled in with one hand, smothered a smile with the other, like somehow I knew to save it, our last real laugh before the break. But we were snickering before we even reached the kiosk. So when the voice said, "Welcome to Burger King, how can I help you?" and the engine sputtered out there, maybe 20 feet from the window, you looked at me with eyes so wide we lost it. "Hello?" Laughing, unable to words. "I can see your car, can you hear me?" Slapping the dash, throwing our backs against the seat, crying, and you can barely, "Hello? Yes, sorry, could you please," oh, sweet baby Jesus, "could you please get us a cup of gas?" And Hayley, I just wanted to check in. I could do one or two depending on timing. More, would you prefer two or what? Yeah,
If two if they're short, one if it's longer.
cool, got it. They're pretty short, so I'll do two. Here's a love poem to my phone. Things that you desperately need to write about in single times. I'm actually married now, which is great. So my husband's in the background, so he's listening, no shade to him. This was from a previous time. Pocket lover. The gentle way you wake me, one I reach for without thinking, who could never turn me off. Please know I could stare into you for hours, just checking for signs of affection, attachment, tremor of you in the pocket of anything. Oh, how we light each other up. You dope kick window of my life. I look at you as I have looked at no one. Lap glances, eye reddening gazes until my systems are backed up and my serratus superior, so you told me, is knotted to the spine. You know the waves of my voice, ends of my sentences have scrutinized every ridge on my fingertip. The way you are there for me makes me hate myself. Every time I fail you, you come back. Every bit I used to be, sorry. Each time you fail me, you come back. Every bit who you used to be, and then some. Read me a story. You know I will like the songs you play and the order you play them. Be the perfect lover. Any of my favorites will do when the other one is late coming home or no longer in love. You need not touch me, because with you, I touch myself. And one final poem from this book, Character Flaws. Please check it out if you're of interest, if it's of interest to you. Definitely, we're moving into the post-breakup stage. This poem is called Half-Built House. If I can get to it, excuse me. Half-Built House. It's on a side street, half a facade wrapped in Tyvek paper, embedded in the frozen ground of my new neighborhood. Empty A-frame against gray sky. Is this the door or the foyer wall I am stepping through? A screw and washer kicked tinkling into the dirt. I remember when you sat on my lap and designed a house for us in The Sims. while I perched my chin on your shoulder, smelled your hair, whispered wallpaper colors, pointed out the light fixtures we would or would not have, depending on who won the argument. I can't help imagining your frown at the dirty snow I track across this plywood expanse of perhaps a living room. Shoes were always to be removed upon entering, you had said, as though your very soul flickered in the floorboards of this maybe kitchen with a promise of windows by the staircase to the landing that isn't. This is where the construction stopped, where we lay down our tools, where we lay down our bodies to cry and wonder on a foundation that had required all we could muster. I did love that layout. It would have put the children's bedroom right about there, hovering above my head like a soap bubble by the pin oak's pointing finger. Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
And Claudia, you can go ahead.
Okay. I'm reading two poems from my newest manuscript in progress. It's called Mother Lode, L-O-A-D, one word, Mother Lode. And it was an unexpected gift, I suppose. My mother was born in Riga, Latvia. And when she was 18, came over here and just missed the Holocaust, thank God. So that's how I got here, I guess. My mother's superstitions. Educated and superstitious, we adored black cats. We're uneasy about walking under ladders, yet willing to climb the rickety flight of steps to hear our tea leaves read. On New Year's Eve, we'd spoon small amounts of melted lead into a bowl of cold water, then divine the shape, interprets its shadow. This is a long-held German New Year's tradition, along with marzipan pigs and Linzer torts. One New Year's, she said her lead shape resembled a coffin, mine, a train or bus. Her choice of words did not surprise. She had always kept company with death, some years courting it more than others. She is still fleeing Riga, packing jewelry and coat linings, tucking small valuables into brown paper bags. She wears death as an impeccable piece of clothing, familiar with it since a young age. Her stories like tiny gems sewn into our dress hems. And I'm going to read one more from this. Here we are. It's called My Mother's Empty Suitcases. And thank you, Sheila-Na-Gig, for publishing this poem. And I just want to say, everyone, this has been so delightful. I loved the choral reading and how you did that. It really was very strong, and it was wonderful to hear from a different part of the country. So thank you. My Mother's Empty Suitcases. For now, your well-worn Vuitton suitcases have journeyed from Riga to Italy and finally America. They're stacked in my closet like Russian dolls, one inside the other. The frayed handbag on top requires repair. I imagine losses warehoused like abandoned suitcases at airports. I wander the aisles. I hunt for parts of us, as you would a lost scarf that you recognized and loved, or a particular blouse worn and softened. I imagine you slept in it often. I sit on the old pull-out couch on its green-tiled floor. After I burned my finger, you wrapped it in butter. We slept there. After you sucked the wood splinter from under my thumbnail, we slept there. Opening a door, I find myself in your last apartment, everything in its place like a living museum. I remember giving the taxi driver your address. He asks how you are. I really don't know the answer to that. I get out of the taxi, take the elevator. The past isn't supposed to be here. In one aisle, I notice a shoe and instantly know it was yours. The Ferragamo label, the tiny heel, the bow, the classic silhouette of a narrow foot, size 7. I sniff the leather, the worn insole, touch the imprint of your toes, your arch. It doesn't tell me much more. Yet I covet this shoe. I steal it. At home, I set it on the mantle. I don't have a mantle, but I honor your shoe, this piece of you. Thank you.
You're on mute, Hayley.
Thank you. I'll edit that out. There's always stuff I have to edit out of the YouTube video. Bruce Robinson isn't here, Stan, so you're actually up next. And then we have Max and then Linda. And you need to unmute, Stan. You're on mute right now. Not quite there yet.
Hayley, I think you can actually unmute him, probably, or at least you can.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm looking. It just says ask to unmute, but it doesn't. There's not a
Okay.
thing that will let me.
Sometimes hosts can, and I'm sorry, I'm creating a lot of.
That's okay. I can
How's
edit.
that? Does that
There
work?
you go. Stan Rubin.
I also invented the light bulb.
Well, it still works.
This stuff never fails when you've had it to mess up. But I love the West Virginia poets because I even brought back when I used to live in the East for various reasons. I drove through West Virginia a lot and I didn't just blitz through it. I really went around a lot of parts. I had some friends, a lot of parts of the state. What a gorgeous, wild, exotic state, really. And your voices were wonderful. And Eben, whatever, however you pronounce it, that was a lovely poem. I like the title of your chapbook quite a lot too. I'm going to start, I guess, with the one, just going to read like 3 poems. They're pretty new. They're all in my current endlessly changing manuscript, which will go into the pile of unpublished manuscripts. The one that's in Sheila is Cut from my late wife. So I'll read that first. I cut my thumb again. Oh, it's for Judith, I should say. Cut. I cut my thumb again, trying to prune a flower to set in the vase you loved next to your side of the bed, empty for 8 years now, and getting emptier, the way the whole house is, bloated with unstoppable emptiness, filled with missing you, despite getting on with my life, whatever that means. I'm sure it means well, coming from friends and students who miss you with me for a time, but they have their own losses, their unreclaimable vanishings. Disbeliever in other worlds, lover of life as it is lived here and now among people destined to lose. Where have you gone? In the childhood story, unfortunate boy Tubby eats so much his buttons pop, his swollen body rises into the sadness of air until he disappears. I am already there. In the spirit of Eben, thank you. In the spirit of Eben, a new little poem called Fragility. Damn the new house that's being built slowly, painfully slowly, bit by bit in the apple orchard behind our house. Soon our backyard will fill with weekend noises of somebody else's dream or necessity. Who knows what compromises he must have made to put it there, replacing the apple trees and greenhouse. Someone else's dream must always fall before your own. This is how we clear it out, the world. And I think I'll just do this little positive one from the end of the manuscript, remarkably rainbow. The strange beak breaks through thick green leaves like a spirit from another world I have never visited except in visions of jungle and the canopy of sleep. Toucan or macaw, sharp-clawed neighbor of colors set free into this gray morning. O bird, misfit poet, smuggler of dreams. Thank you, and thank you, Hayley, for organizing such beautiful community and in the magazine and out. Thank you.
I think it's me. I'll just jump right into it. Thank you all for having me. I don't know about anybody else, but I did get a little subconscious when I heard Cheryl's open mic readings poem. So don't be embarrassed. I'm just very hyper aware of how I sound and look right now. But I'm excited to read. So thank you for having me. This first poem was published in Sheila in the most recent issue, I believe. And it is titled Instructions Shouted in the Moment. I said, did you leave the garage door open? She said, the encampment lies over the hill. I mentioned someone might have stolen something overnight. She said, we must line the battlements with mortars. I said, I can do it. Just let me settle in first. She said, at the sunrise, we shall melt the bridges with tar. I asked if you finished the leftovers from last night. She said, don't bury the dead. They can tell us stories. I said, I was hungry and can you hear yourself right now? She said, light the beacon and tighten the straps. I said, it was the pinstripe beams you wore like cell bars. She said, they are past the gates and battlements. I was wondering why all your dreams don't include me. She said, let us die with the sun's light in our eyes. I said, I am here. Are you? She said, they are upon us. Thank you. I'm going to read one more, and this one's a bit more uplifting than that one, I hope. It's titled Therapy Session Number 6. And it's a prose poem, so it'll be a little stream of consciousness for y'all. Okay. Therapy session number 6. I realized in group therapy, I realized that the body is not a map. It does not track our journey with its scars. I had to stop the circle and say, everyone shut up, I'm having a moment. I stood on my good ankle, of course, and kicked the air with the bad one. Barely hit Joanne, but she's fine. All the lines the skin leaves behind have nothing to do with us. They point left, right, diagonally across the hand if your future is bleak, but you can't know that from a hand. You just have to find out. There is no meaning underneath my calluses. They are just bits of rough skin from when I would lean on my elbows under the bed, hiding from my drunk father. Doctors, quacks, whatever, stop pointing at my nails and saying I scratch because I don't clip. They're nails, for God's sake. I'm not a cat. I'm a perfectly fine man. And what a moment it was. I probably won't go back, though. Nothing we did together I couldn't have done by myself. Thank you all so much.
Okay, I'm last up. First, thanks all of you for sharing your wonderful work. I feel privileged to be in such stellar company. And thank you, Hayley. You've been such a wonderful support for my poetry over the years. This first one is from the latest issue, the summer issue. It's called I Watch the Laundry. I watch the laundry through the open door as I read about you dying, drifting in and out as reported, the grim army approaching, steady as your right hand, firmly holding down the tremoring left the last time I saw you. We listened to arias on your turntable and ate all the good chocolate friends kept bringing you, and you said, I think this opera is too sad for this sadness. You were equal parts Buddha and Bukowski, so we smoked a pipe and spun Mick Jagger as you told a story of ancient monks able to fly. Your left hand suddenly stilled, and the smoke from our mouths kissed in the air, then dissolved. This morning, the white sheets whip on the summer line like inhospitable shrouds waiting to be filled with your incoming light. Your Tibetan bowls are singing in the other room, and I realize I have waited all week for this moment. This little one is called Firefly, that Hayley also published some years ago. Firefly. I hooked your light, little firefly, like the tail of a thought. It blazed through me, carrying a last chance like a lottery ticket, and made a home just long enough to draw a map in a lost woman, my useless, brilliant body without a lid to the jar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda, and all of our open mic readers from Sheila-Na-Gig Online, and our featured readers are authors of Porch Poems. You can find us at Sheila-Na-Gig-blog.com. And I'd like to say that Sheila-Na-Gig, if you haven't heard, is now a nonprofit organization. So we're very excited about where we'll go next with that. So thank you all so much for being here. Okay, I'm going to stop this recording.